Whew. Oh, shit. Hello, everybody. Welcome back to Dead Money. Like and subscribe if you want to hear more of this garbage. It's been a while since I've come on the air. I seem to be going through a similar trajectory as to when I first moved to Las Vegas. When I got here in November of 2008 and was playing higher for a while, after about 5 or I guess maybe 5.5 years, I really started getting worn down and tired, and I didn't play that much over the next year and a half or two. I got a resurgence after deciding to drop down to 2.5 as the mainstay and stuck with that a little over 1 year until I got burnt out completely, and then didn't play that much for the next 3.5 years. Did a little dealing, did some writing. Then I got an entirely different type of resurgence when I realized that, as dreadful as life is with poker, that it's actually worse without it. And that got me back in full speed ahead. But now here we are again, a little more than 5 years since that happened, that epiphany. And much like after my first 5 years, I'm getting tired again. I got fucking no motivation to play. And it sucks because everything about my brain and day-to-day living seems to function and flow so much better when I'm playing poker a lot each month. So you think, okay, just go play and then you'll be fine. And yeah, that sounds like a good idea, but it isn't, because nothing feels worse than forcing myself to play poker. Or maybe not nothing, but it's very much a shitty feeling. You know, I want to play when I'm excited to play. You know, like when I'm having trouble getting to sleep the night before or staying asleep because I'm looking forward to playing the next day. That's the type of excitement I'm talking about. Or when I'm home getting ready the next morning to go out to play, but I'm like annoyed about having to do all these little tedious things first because I just want to get down to the strip. You know, and then I get out of the car and I'm walking fast to get to the poker room. That's the mindset I want to be in. Otherwise, what is the point of playing? You know, if I'm forcing myself out there, I'm just going to make a lot of B-game decisions. And yeah, I'm still winning money from those, as opposed to not playing and winning nothing, but I hate being in a game when I'm not craving blood. I don't want to be there feeling apprehensive about things and only putting out like some pretty decent player instead of what I normally expect to put out. So it's something of a shitty time right now. I mean, I find myself wanting to play more than wanting to actually do it. And this actually was starting to happen almost a year ago. You know, the solution to that was, the podcast. And it's carried me, but I guess only until now. Now I'm not sure what's going to happen. You know, for the most part, I just feel like I'm waiting for the urge to, like, just reappear. You know, the kind where you wake up and you're like, okay, give me some flops. I want to see some fucking flops. Because I think anyone who plays poker a lot and is, like, really taken by the game, in a good way, of course, is probably also somebody that just likes danger, you know, at least to some degree, because poker, especially No Limit Hold'em, still by far the most popular game, is a dangerous game. I mean, there is no way there's anybody that's played a lot of No Limit that has never gone into at least one mild state of shock because of how fucked up and dangerous the game inherently is. But anyway, so for this show, I think what I want to do is turn it all back on myself. You know, I obviously do a lot of insult comedy storytelling about the fucking assholes we all have to put up with. And if you heard episode 54, the one about Chauncey Billups and the cheating ring involved with his home game and sports betting and all that, then you heard me tell a story about me talking shit years ago at a home game in downtown LA to some big thug-looking Korean guy with sleeve tattoos who was apparently carrying a gun and doing coke all night. Not particularly wise on my part. And I'm probably at least a little lucky nothing really terrible happened. But I'd say I got about what I deserved. I didn't deserve to get my ass kicked. I didn't deserve to die. All I was the jackass who broke the game by pissing off the fish. And the game runner, who was a wannabe gangster, pointing in my face and yelling and threatening to have me thrown out of this high-rise building. And that was scary. But I'd say I got what I deserved. And since I only got what I deserved, maybe you can call that lucky. Could have been a lot worse. Now, it's true that if anybody really was thinking about killing you, or even just harming you in any sort of significant way, they would probably just do it rather than waste time talking about it. So basically, if they're talking shit to you about what they're going to do to you, all they're really doing is telling you what they aren't going to do, regardless of their capabilities. The talkers are not the doers because they're so preoccupied with talking about what they're going to do that they drain themselves of all the time and effort to actually do the thing they're talking about. But that aside, this show is going to be about me being the jackass and saying and doing things at the table that if I saw someone else say and or do, then I'd be talking about them on the show. So today I'm just going to shit on myself with a few throwback stories going back to when I wasn't even 21 yet. I'm from Rockland County, New City, New York, which is considered upstate New York, although it's very much downstate. If you want to go upstate, really go far upstate, you're going to hit this little spot called Turning Stone, which is a casino in Verona, New York. It's an Indian reservation, so you can play there when you're 18. Now, if you've ever seen the movie The Hustler, Eddie Felson, played by Paul Newman, is kicking Minnesota Fats' ass for hours on end playing straight pool. Then eventually Minnesota Fats comes back and beats Eddie because Eddie got too drunk and too cocky and he just wasn't mature enough yet to beat the best pool player in the world. But after Minnesota Fats tells him the game is over because he's done what he set out to do, Felson says to Fats, he's like, "Hey, Fats, come on." He's like, "You're not going to walk out on me now." He's like, "I got a couple $100. Fats didn't want it anymore. So he's packing up, walking out, and Felson's just pleading with him. He's like, "Fats, come on, come on." He's like, "You're not going to walk out on here." And Fats says, "You watch me." Really cool moment in the beginning of this movie and a really cool scene after a long stretch of time of watching him play pool to see the guy not care about cleaning out every last penny from his opponent just to defeat him as Eddie clearly was. He was defeated. You just look at him, he lost. Now, the first really, really sick play I ever made in any live game was playing 2-5 at Turning Stone this day. And I think the max was like $300. I was winning when this hand started. There was a raise to 25, and I 3-bet to 50 with jacks, which is really strange size. And I even knew that when I did it. I was like, I've never done this before. Basically, min-raise 3-bet. Technically, 45 would have been a min-raise 3-bet, but I think people perceive going from 25 to 50 as a min-click, even though it's not. But this isn't important. The guy calls the 50, and the flop comes king little, he check calls, and I didn't really know what I was doing at this point. I mean, we get to the turn, he checks again. I think betting flop with that hand is certainly fine, but this is definitely a good turn card to just check. But I don't know what happened. I mean, I was just thinking getting somewhat out of control, and I bet 100, which was probably only like half pot. Could have been less than half pot, I'm not sure. And this kid tanked and is just agonizing, and he calls. I mean, it was pretty clear. Like, you almost wondered if he's faking this. That's how obvious it was that this kid is agonizing over his hand. So I don't really know what's going on exactly. I just seem to realize I'm beat at this point, but this kid is not feeling too good about life right now. The river's nothing. He checks, and I went all in. And then we went through the whole show again. He agonized. He rechecked his cards over and over again. He did that on the turn also, and I'm just trying to stay stoic, you know. Just is the first time I really, really had to hold a long, deep-ass freaking poker face on the turn and the river. And he show-folded pocket queens, and then I showed jacks. So I think this decision to bet the turn didn't really make any sense, nor did my min-click 3-bet pre-flop, but it was a big moment because I at least figured out what I had to do to win this hand on the river and wasn't going to just check. I mean, it kind of makes sense, you know, for someone who's coming up in poker, knows he can play, but like doesn't have that much experience yet, so it's like, of course he's going to be doing all kinds of things that are all over the place. I mean, everybody was. The game was new. Poker's been around for all those years, and it was still new. Nobody knows what the hell makes sense. Some just have a better feel for it than others. That's pretty much what it was back then. But anyway, after this hand, I racked up and left. And other players were saying, not the guy I bluffed, but other players were saying, like, what, you're just going to leave? You're not going to leave, are you? And I was like, you watch me. Try to act like Minnesota Fats. It's fucking stupid. But I get home a few hours later, and then my dad comes back after I got there. And I'm just acting all cool on the couch, watching the Met game, and he's like, you back? I'm like, yeah. You see me sitting here, don't you? He's like, how was it? I say, fine. Just telling him as little as possible until he asks. He's like, did you win? I'm like, yeah. He's like, how much did you win? I said, $5.14. He says, $5.14? Looking very confused at this point, thinking that doesn't make any sense, because no, it doesn't make any sense. I said, no. He says, $514? I said, yeah. And he was, pleased to hear that, of course. And I was just like, I know what I'm doing. And what greater feeling is there than when a poker player, an aspiring poker player, first starts to really, really see the results coming in, and that he was justified all this time to believe it himself? Because there's just all this like inherent doubt that comes with poker as well. Every day you go in there, you don't know if you're going to play like a fucking moron. I mean, it's like you believe in yourself that you can win. You know you can do it. But the first time you really get like a big taste of what it feels like to like win, do what you've been dreaming of every day, it's unbelievable. That was the first time I ever won $100 in a poker game. I had never broken 3 digits. And on the first day I break 3 digits, I get over 500. And at that age, 20, I mean, it feels like all the money in the world. This is the summer of 2005. You're walking out of there with all these $100 bills. It's like being on Molly. And like Fast Eddie Felsen said, in The Color of Money, the sequel to The Hustler, which came out decades later, more than 20 years, Tom Cruise is in it. But Eddie says money won is twice as sweet as money earned. So I guess my next trip back to Turning Stone was probably 6 or 7 months later. I mean, I don't know. We were in the winter, and it was 2006, and I got a speeding ticket on the way up there. I was going with a friend. We were eager to play the 5-5 game, which I think had a 500 max, but before that game started, I was in the 2-5 again. I don't know if it was 300 max. I don't remember what the buy-ins were. But I was excited to play this game because I had just read a little bit of Super System the week before. I talked about this story in the first interview with Mike Zulker. That, I believe, was episode 27. And when I read in Super System, Doyle Brunson was saying instead of check-raising sets, you should lead into the raiser so that they raise you and then feel like they can't get away from it. Which at the time, reading it seemed to be like a very sensible thing to do because people went nuts with overpairs all the time. They stack off with them all day. So when you flop a set of trips, as Doyle liked to write it that way, don't check raise, lead into the raiser. So I defended the big blind against the raise with deuces. I think it went heads up. And I flopped a set of trips. I bet the flop he called. Turn was whatever. I bet the turn, and then he raised. And I went to 3-bet jam. And I got called for a string raise, and correctly. I did reach back. I know I'm not allowed to do that, but probably just inexperience from being in the casino. I just had a moment where I didn't do what I was supposed to, and they called me on it, and so it stood as a call. Then the river brought in a backdoor flush, and it paired the board. I jammed, he snapped, and I cold-decked him. He had a flush, so it sounds like a hand that would occur in 2025, at least as far as what hands get in on the river. But in this time, this is like losing straight flush to straight flush. But I don't know what his cards were. He just said he had a flush, and given how fast he called, he probably did. But I think he just floated flop in position with like overs and backdoors, which was correct to do so. But a lot of people probably looked at it as really spewy back then. Then he raises turn once he gets his big draw, but he's running into the top of his range. And then, he gets this river, and what's he going to do? Fold? No one's folding that hand back then. You shouldn't. You'd be insane if you did. So thinking back on it, I think the guy, based on what I can recall from it, played his hand pretty well. But he asked me, he's like, didn't you check raise? Or he said, well, why were you trying to push me out? He was asking why I was betting into him. Why didn't I check raise my set of trips? Why was I donking into him with my set of trips? And instead of saying anything about reading it in Doyle Brunson's book, which would be a pretty fucking stupid, like just dumb thing to say anyway, I said to him, I was like, because I wanted money. I wasn't that big of a dick for saying that, but like, what? A few people laugh, but it's just like, what the fuck? Why the fuck would I say that? Okay, so then the 5-5 game opens. And by the way, I was wearing a white suit to the casino. You know, when I first played poker, I was always wearing the sunglasses for a few years, including after I got to Vegas. I kept them on for a couple of years. But getting to go to the casino only every so often, I mean, I just was playing up how much fun I wanted to have with this as much as I could. So I'm looking all freaking pimp in this white suit, sunglasses, black shirt probably. I mean, I just am acting like I'm in a movie or something. So we're waiting for the game to start, and there's this guy in the game who says to me across the table, he's like, nice suit. I was like, thanks, you're going to buy me a new one. And he gave me like, not that dirty of a look, like a semi-small dirty look, because like he knows I'm just kidding. Like I was kidding. I was just being a smart ass, but like I wasn't really trying to be a dick, but it's kind of a dick thing to say. But the funny thing was, he did buy me a new suit. I fucking stacked them not super long after that. I think I had king, queen of clubs, and I flopped a flush. And my friend who had raised pre, he bet the flop. I raised, and then this guy checked 3-bet all in with only the nut flush draw. And he bricked. And when I win this huge pot, I don't know how big it was, but I stood up. I'm clapping my hands furiously. So pumped up. Today I'd be mad watching someone act like that. I'd be thinking like, all right, just act like you won before. All right, well, I mean, that was the thing. I sort of had it. I mean, I had the $500 win a few months earlier, but now I'm breaking into 4 digits, and I've never done that before. I mean, I never won a pot this big. And I remember winning $1,670 that day, and it just felt on top of the world. Now, I still had to pay the speeding ticket, you know, from getting pulled over in bumblefuck New York. So that brought the day's winnings probably more to about $1,400 and change, since the ticket wasn't particularly cheap, but fuck all that. That is $1,670. That's what I took off the table. That's what I won. But I wasn't done saying shit to people, because on another Turning Stone visit, I raised with pocket eights. I flopped a set of trips in that hand also. Flop was king, queen, 8. I remember the flop was king, queen, 8. And this guy check calls all 3 streets. And by now I had long known that it's considered bad etiquette to see the losing hand, but technically you're also allowed to do it. So I thought, well, fuck it. Why should I be afraid to ask to see what their hand is? I'm allowed to do it. It's within the rules, and it's information that I can use. So I asked to see his hand, and he had pocket 9s. You know, just a completely terrible call down for 3 barrels. But this is what went on back in the day all the time. Then the guy says to his neighbor something like, he's like, I thought he was pretty light, but I guess not. And then I say, good guess. What a piece of shit. I mean, it's not that we hadn't spoken yet, and I suddenly hit him with that. I think we were jarring a little bit before that, which is probably why I asked to see his hand and then make that remark. But then he starts boasting how he plays online and how he can lose 20 grand like it's nothing. And then he threatened to put me through the window pane that was separating the poker room from what was whatever part of the casino outside the poker room. I was like, oh, okay, I'm sure the casino will love it if you do that. Why do people say shit like this? They know they're not going to do it. I don't know. I suppose they say for the same reason I say any of the dumb shit that I say. It just rolls off your tongue without even thinking about how stupid you're being. So now here's a story where things got a bit ugly. This is at the Venetian 2-5, 1,000 max, the old Venetian poker room, much bigger. I know I had just turned 27, and I had a new girlfriend sitting behind me. And there comes a hand where I think I had ace-king in the big blind. And by the way, I'm already getting my ass kicked, as I seem to do all the time at 2-5 the first bunch of years when I only played it here and there. I mean, I was a slight winner in the game, but like, God, how many sessions where you're just getting beaten down by random variants. You know, I went to 2-5 to supplement the hours because it's hard for me to play 5-10, 10-20 all the time. I mean, I play 2-5 here and there to get some more time in. It shouldn't be as hard, except it ended up being more difficult than the games I was normally playing because of variants. But hey, therein lies the danger. But anyway, so I'm about 3 years removed from the LA home game. That little death threat or string of death threats, I don't even know what to call them. Playing with this older guy who I'd seen around before, but I don't know him. Old man, ponytail, glasses. He limps. There's a few limps. I think I raised ace king out of the big blind. And then he limp raises, but as he does it, he says, well, let's just make it 60 in case we got a hand. So he may have been the only one to limp. I don't know. I was a little sketched out by that, but I just called. He's 500 deep. I had 1,000. And I want to say the board ran out ace high where, I won the hand, but at showdown and saw that he had ace jack. It's like slightly tilted. I didn't win a bigger pot, but just a very bizarre thing to see someone who looked like this guy limp raise ace jack offsuit. So I probably made some not totally provocative comment about his play. I mean, I didn't do anything crazy. He just said, though, he's like, oh, it's just a little bit of money. And then my response made no sense. I said, but I have more than you, meaning I have him covered. I mean, that doesn't have any relevance. I mean, that's just me trying to one-up the old guy somehow in some way. I don't even know what I'm trying to one-up him with. Just getting too caught up for a second because, I don't know, the guy seems like he was giving me some shit and I'm giving shit back. But as soon as I said to him, but I have more than you, he immediately goes from 0 to 100, not getting all loud, but just telling me that he has enough money to wrap me up in the desert and that he won't miss me or the money. Now I have another guy threatening my life, essentially. It's a very fucked up thing to have someone say shit like this to you. I mean, I know I said that if people are saying it, they're probably not going to do it. But you know what? In the moment when this is happening, that's not how it feels. So this is not what I had in mind when I came to the casino with my girlfriend to watch me play. Only I was very surprised to hear she hadn't said anything to this guy. Like she had just put her earbuds in or something like that. I mean, that's why. She didn't even hear what was being said to me. She had no idea. So I just turned around and said, all right, we're going. And then I probably started telling her some stuff as I'm walking in the cage. I cash out. Then I go to the floor man, who was this fucking asshole. And I start telling him what this guy just said, and I sound and look really perturbed. I was fucking furious, okay? I mean, I'm completely turned up at this point. And then, as I'm walking out of the poker room, the floor man brings this man over to me, which wasn't going to help. Now, the guy who said this shit to me, he said, I just want to apologize for that. And I lost my shit on him. And I don't really know what I said to him. But I was screaming in his face, pointing at him. I think I said something like, you're going to wrap me up in the desert? Fuck you. Like, I screamed this in his face. He looked horrified. And I'm just storming out of the poker room. Everyone's turning up and watching me, and I'm already present to this. I'm thinking, you're that guy today. You're that guy everybody saw go fucking batshit crazy in the poker room. They're going to go tell everybody after they leave. Yeah, that's who I was that day. And as I'm walking out, the floor man is like, sir, he's like, I try. Like, he thought he, did the right thing by doing that. I mean, all right, he was trying to do something for me, but maybe bringing the guy over to me, even if it's to apologize, wasn't the play. So I'm just fucking blazing hot, walking out of the poker room, walking out of the casino. My girlfriend doesn't know what the fuck's going on. I get to the front entrance. I slam the door open, push it open, the glass with my hands, and I hear security yelling some shit at me. I mean, I went fucking batshit. I mean, it was just, I got this fucking guy. Talk about wrapping me up in the desert because I'm just some fucking dumbass who said some shit to him at the game. He had to take it there. I mean, who are these fucking people? I don't care if he felt bad for it after. I don't care if he wanted to go over and apologize. Apologies can be very overrated, all right? They're only of so much use. And I don't think their value applies to nearly as many situations as people apply them. Now, I suppose sometimes, like this guy, people they don't know what else to say. So, it's not like their intention was bad, but oftentimes, I think saying you're sorry does not make up for any of what you're saying you're sorry for, never mind all of it. If anything, it can make it worse, like it did here. It's like, oh, you're sorry? This man cannot just talk to me the way he's talked to me and then say he's sorry, and that puts Humpty Dumpty back together again. Like, if I ran someone over with my car, when I get out of the car, I'm not going to say I'm sorry. Because what are they going to say? Oh, really? You're sorry? Well, gee, thanks a lot. I mean, it just makes it worse. Now, hopefully I'm never in that situation, but if I am, I'll at least know what not to say. So great job by me for being prepared ahead of time. For the last story of the day, I was also 27. So this is later that year. I was playing out in Summerlin at the Suncoast. There was this button straddle game that would run a couple days a week. It was 2-5 with a mandatory $10 straddle on the button up to 50 in $5 increments. Now we know the button straddle gives a lot of power to the button. Guess how much power the button had in this game? For the action to go in order, there has to be a raise and a 3-bet. If there's just a single raise, the action still jumps over the button. Only if there's a raise and a 3-bet is the button forced to act in turn. Really good game most of the time, with or without giving too much power to the button, way too much. But in the game that day was like this really arrogant, obnoxious, and snobby, middle-aged looking Asian lady. I mean, I don't remember too much of the things she talked about, but her personality was so bad that it's like you wondered if this person was like doing this as a joke. You know, she wasn't a great player, but she wasn't that much action either, so, you know, she's just getting on everybody's nerves. She even started watching Gangnam Style on YouTube as a way of, like, bragging about her culture. I mean, that was why she put it on. But then somehow people got to whispering to each other about her and how, like, they thought she had either pissed herself or, I don't know, something apparently went wrong in the vaginal area of her body. And that became visible just by looking at the area on her pants surrounding the vaginal area. How exactly that was done, I don't really know, because we're all sitting at a table. So I don't know, I guess her body was turned at one point, and that's how someone saw. I don't know. But whatever the cause was, I decided I am not letting this go by. So I didn't say anything, but on the behalf of everyone else, since, like I said, she's some of the worst company I've ever had the displeasure of playing poker with. After I quit the game, I racked up, went to the men's room, grabbed some toilet paper, broke it off, went back to the poker room, and then, with her back turned to me because of where she was sitting, I just dropped the toilet paper right in front of her chips. And then I just turned and walked away. I didn't look at anybody. I didn't say anything to anybody. I just walked out, not so slowly, but I just walked out and never looked back and just let her be mortified with what I just did. Now, when I think back to this story in particular, it's just like, what the fuck? What would possess me to do such a thing, even if she was acting like an asshole? I mean, what I said to the guy in the Venetian poker room after threatening to wrap me up in the desert, I mean, I don't really have a problem with the way I reacted. I mean, I didn't have to do any of that. Could have gotten me kicked out for good, but I don't fault myself for really lashing out at someone who just spoke to me like that. And, you know, being 3 years removed from the other time it happened in LA, I mean, it's not exactly a distant memory. But this, with the toilet paper, whatever. I guess it's just part of being 27. At least for some people, because I was like so proud of this behavior at the time I did it. Now, it's not that I'm embarrassed about it now, but I probably wouldn't do that again. Maybe one day that'll be tested again. We'll find out soon enough. But all right, that'll wrap up this show for today, everybody. Certainly hope you enjoyed these stories. I also hope the urge to play comes back, because poker is the best thing for me. It might be a dangerous game, but oddly enough, it actually seems to prevent me from getting involved with any sort of danger the most, you know. At least now that I've stopped talking shit to thug-looking gangbangers and wealthy, ruthless old white men who like to wrap men up in deserts, and also throwing toilet paper at older women who are probably going through menopause. But either way, yeah, I need to play. It'll keep me from doing Dumbo things off the table, and I need things to talk about anyway. You know, I got hands to obsess over. So, we'll see what happens tomorrow when I wake up. We'll see you next time.